Hey.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Good
to see you. Nice haircut.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. I got a lot of stuff to do over the next couple of days.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, I got to go to Philly and do our team dinner. We got a team dinner for the Chris Long Foundation and the Make the World Better Foundation in Philly. That's Connor Barwin's foundation. So basically, we let Connor do all the legwork, and we just show up and have a good time.
Go and hang out with Big Dom?
No, I'm just kidding. My staff's working really hard, too. Shout out to Connor and his folks and Jesse. No. Big Dom hopefully will be there. Last year, we scheduled the dinner after the San Francisco 49ers game at the Link, so that was poor scheduling. This year, they asked, hey, when should we schedule this charity dinner in the hopes that players show up? I said, circle the Carolina Panthers. Little did I know that Bryce Young was going to start playing really well. Now, the line is 13. I think the Panthers are going to have a hard time with the run game. So I think we'll be okay. Eagles run the ball, get the guys home early so they can rest up and come to our team dinner at Steak 48 on, Monday night.
Monday night.
Yeah. And then we're launching Ed Zone in Philly on Tuesday. Y'all in the chat might not care about this stuff, but, just stream of consciousness off the top. Also have an 8 a.m. youth basketball game Saturday, which is assault. Seriously. I made my kids stay up. Well, I didn't make my kids stay up late for that game last night. I was kind of like, yeah, well, maybe if he stays up through the game, he'll get a little sicker, and then he won't have to do the 8 a.m.
That's crazy.
I was like, oh, you're coughing a lot, huh?
That is crazy.
It's not, it's comedic relief, dude.
Does your son understand it's 8 a.m.? Like, is that going to be a problem?
Oh, he's like, dude, I got to wake up early. I'm like, I'm not even playing in the game, bro. This is the youth sports is it's the Trojan horse of parenthood. It's like you think about a bunch of stuff. You don't think about, watching kids shoot 15% from the field at 8 a.m. on Saturday morning. My son's going to shoot well.
His effective field goal percentage is way over 30.
Exactly, dude. Exactly. You've seen him.
Have you thought about mornings at all? I found that mornings have sort of unlocked my life.
Yeah, waking up early?
Yeah.
Sure. But Saturday at 6:30, not as fun. This morning, baby woke up at 5:40 in the morning. So, yeah, we're trucking, man. It's Friday.
I did a 1 a.m. to 4 a.m. stretch last night with my daughter.
Really?
Yeah. Dad.
And she's like, she wants you.
Dad.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, it's time to go to sleep.
They don't understand that.
Hey,
you tried Benadryl? I'm just joking.
The logic and reasoning doesn't really come until the frontal lobe is fully developed in like the mid-20s.
And then they go play football and get their frontal lobe smashed in, and they lose the logic and reasoning.
Yeah, you get a very short window.
Yeah, so you want to take advantage of that frontal lobe while you got it.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyways.
Real fast before we dive in and before we get to BetMGM, Heather in the chat said that Channing Crowder was gassing us up on Bussin' with the Boys. He went on Bussin' with the Boys.
Yeah, what did he say?
I haven't heard it yet.
I just saw Channing. I saw Channing because he came to Inside the NFL. He's like, I was just talking about you with Bussin' with the Boys guys. So I thought they were just talking off camera, but we like our compliments on camera.
Yeah.
We're gonna share a flight again.
With
them?
I think so.
Oh, that's gonna be great.
So last year for the Super Bowl, we chartered a plane from Philly after our Inside the NFL deal to LA, which sometimes private travel is kind of pointless. It's just one person sitting in a big plane. But there were a lot of heads in this plane, so it actually made sense. It was Ocho, myself, Channing Crowder, Ryan Clark, the whole staff. Dr. Fax was there, the green light. So it was kind of a green light Inside the NFL deal.
A little merger.
And Chad spent the entire flight sitting in the back, moping, even though he was on a giant private plane, because it's not like Spirit Airlines. They don't give you pretzels. And, like, he likes his routine. Another thing about Ocho is he lost a bet on Inside the NFL, and he is not allowed to eat McDonald's for the rest of the year, which is like a major problem for him.
It's so
What is
crazy.
he-
It's not a bit.
the
Bro,
bet-
I watched him try to eat rice pilaf
Yeah.
and like beef tenderloin at lunch the other day. Nolan, did it look like he was going to get sick?
He was hurting. He was hurting bad.
I think you
But
know
that's what we said. We were like, it actually. We don't want the guy to get sick, but it would be funny if he had.
His
McDonald's
insides
probably-
his insides need a reset. just like
McDonald's
the
market. Did you see
Bengals.
McDonald's? They were like, Ocho, we'll see you on the 1st of next year. Like they tweeted that.
Oh.
But I know the marketing department for them, they're probably sweating. Like, what if this little stretch, like by the end of it, he's like, you know what? Like,
feel
I'm
great.
Done. I'm done with McDonald's.
As of 2 days ago, he told me what you put inside your body doesn't change your expiration date. You have an expiration date, it doesn't matter. That's what he told me. I told him you should go talk to Shay Shay about that. That'd be a pretty interesting conversation.
Good news for me.
So,
Real fast, our little love for BetMGM, the homies that have been making it so easy for us all year.
yeah, let's give them some love. Let's give some love to the Packers +4. I know I got to read the thing, Reed.
Sorry.
All right. BetMGM, I've only done this a few times. BetMGM has made, he's got the face like, yo, there's the fucking ad read, bro. BetMGM has made betting, I was giving them time to fix the ad read. BetMGM has made betting easy and seamless all season long.
Wrong. Have you seen- I'll show you my account. Hard as hell.
We all have some win totals we're sweating as we close out on the season. Dr. Fax has been hitting his prop bets. And if you haven't been watching, I'm having a decent season myself. Hopefully, you have been able to pick up a play or two from us to use on the BetMGM app. And if you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use bonus code GREENLIGHT to get up to a $1,500 first bet offer on your first wager with BetMGM. And just a reminder that BetMGM's got your back with a second chance on first touchdown scores. All season long, BetMGM is offering you a second chance on your first touchdown bet when you place a wager on your first touchdown scorer bet. And he doesn't score first, but scores second. BetMGM will return 100% of your stake back in cash. Be sure to take advantage of this offer. And remember, use bonus code GREENLIGHT when you sign up to get a $1,500 first bet offer on your first wager with BetMGM. Happy hunting
Nice.
to you
Nicely
too.
done. Thank
And
you.
congratulations on another Thursday. What's the score?
It's 8-6.
I'm still up.
No.
No.
You're winning?
Yeah.
That's okay. There's nothing at stake this year.
Well, yeah.
well,
Not really.
I have a little pep in my step on Friday mornings.
That's
Yeah.
good. You
Thanks.
know, Packers +4. He wins Thursday night time machine. It's like it's a winner's circle this morning. And honestly, what a game. I don't feel like we got robbed at all. Al Michaels used to pray for times like this. Seriously. Like a game like that, it's just so far and away better than most games we see on Thursday night. The first half was shaky, right? And you were like, oh, this is just going to be ugly. But I really think the game came down to identity for the Lions. First and foremost, going for it on 4th and 1 in that scenario is the right thing to do in the moment because your defense is down X amount of guys. You come in with 13 guys on IR. There's no team besides the Lions that has double digits guys on IR on the defensive side of the football. They have 13. And then they lose guys like Reeder, McNeil throughout the course of the game. I'm seeing Quan Alexander out there getting reps, and he doesn't look as fast as he used to. Okay, I'm seeing Jamal Adams on the field, right? Like I was like, wait, that's him? No, it's crazy. I mean, there were so many guys playing. Nowaski's blowing up Kraft. Like Zadarius Smith, who hasn't been there long, has been balling out the first, play of the game. Love takes a shot. He gets him down. So, as much as in the first half, I felt like Aaron Glenn came out and really, ultimately, we already knew he was a head coaching candidate, but I think the job he's doing with this Detroit defense solidifies that. There were times in the past where I was like, I don't love the back end there. You know, I don't love the way they play defense. Now, even as handsy as the secondary is, even as many penalties as Terry and Arnold has, as many explosives as they might give up in that way, and as many injuries they have, I'm so impressed with the way they came out and played in that first half. And it was like Aaron Glenn was like, hey, we're going to be aggressive. The plays they're going to happen quicker. You know, we're not going to have a bunch of backups on the field for 5 seconds at a time, 6 seconds at a time. We're going to bring the fight to these guys. So I think in the immediacy, it was the right decision. As you look at the second half and we only force a punt once, if I'm Detroit, I'm probably going. Second, and I think this gets lost in the shuffle, it's not just about not wanting to give the ball back and maybe losing in regulation. You don't want to go to overtime and lose any more people.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, we lamented a couple weeks ago the Jags, that game where they're up like 52-6, and there's guys in the game late. And I think ultimately this was the right decision for the right now, for the long term, and then most importantly, that's who the fuck he is. And that's who they are, right? Fly on the wall. What's even being said on that headset?
Well, nothing for a while. I was like ready to read some lips, and Dan wasn't saying anything.
He was just listening to the other side of maybe why not to go for it, and he was just like,
Yeah.
save your breath. But I think having gotten turned away a couple possessions ago, it was all the more important to go for it in this scenario, because to me, not doing it is like blinking to Dan Campbell. And you heard his team talk about their mindset after that San Francisco game when people were calling for Dan's head about it, not his job, but his head. I don't know if you can call for somebody's head without calling for their job, but people were mad at Dan about going for it in San Francisco. Need I remind you, all those plays were there to be made, and they weren't. I think Dan's like a dad that goes around beating people up in front of the kids, and if he turns down a fight, the kids look at him kind of funny. And I think they've gotten to the point where they're like, yeah, Dan, go. You got to beat that guy up. Go beat that guy up. You know, we're not going to stop you. In fact, we're going to look at you strange if you don't go for it, because that'll mean we aren't who we say we are. And so everything about the decision made sense. A lot of other groups not doing that would have been like, but it kind of helps when Green Bay's got nobody in the damn C gap. Nolan, we're looking at all 22 this morning. Nobody in the C gap. It's the same play as the first touchdown of the game. Gary's not on the field.
Neither time. Neither time. They got nobody on the ball to set the edge.
There's no edge set.
No edge set.
But
and nobody, like the play before that conversion at the end of the game, we saw Zane Anderson knife in there to blow it up. Not even to have that. Somebody in there to at least create a pile and let everybody rally. It was bad scheme.
Bad scheme. Bad execution, and honestly, the Packers can thank themselves for losing that game, because you don't go on the road to Detroit and spot them 10 points. It's just not something you want to do. The only thing they got going early in the game was Christian Watson, and he fumbled the football. And you know, he's got the OPI that really hurt them in the red zone. They had 2 possessions.
That OPI is the game.
Yeah, that OPI is the game,
because they have it. They have a chance to go up, get pushed back 15 yards on an OPI,
yeah,
and then have to kick the field goal to tie it. Detroit also did it at the end of the first half on that angle route to Gibbs. Instead of going up 13-7, they go up 17-7, and Matt LaFleur has the defeated interview going in the locker room. They, of course, responded. But, yeah, I just picture some nerd upstairs being like, hey, Dan, it'd be a 39-yard field goal from here for Jake Bates, the special teams player of the month.
He used to sell bricks. Now he's just incredible.
Yeah.
Bricks.
No, I do think it's funny the way analytics has been flipped. And I don't even know if these decisions are all analytically sound. But it used to be like the nerds saying go, and all the football guys were like, you fucking nerds just started watching. Now you're manipulating numbers. And now it's like the caveman. And the nerds are like, whoa, Dan. and he's like, no, we're going to do it. And when he does it, I get it. When you're down on the goal line and you got Jahmyr Gibbs out of the backfield, me and Nolan talked about this last night. You know, I don't think it was necessarily a scheme issue, but I think it's a matchup issue that is going to be won by Gibbs almost every time. I can't find you a linebacker that's not going to be nervous as hell about Gibbs beating you to the pylon. Because if you have him in man coverage, and this is one thing I used to have to do occasionally, didn't like doing it, but peeling on a back, you're afraid of that angle route. But with Gibbs, you're so afraid of him beating you to the pylon because it's just a foot race. And the minute he sees man coverage, he's going to win that foot race. So what does McDuffie do? He's over the top. You know, he's trying to win that foot race to the. You don't need to do that. You need to slow play it and be in his back pocket. So if he tries to cut back inside on the angle route, you have leverage. It's just too easy. It's taking candy from baby. But what a Detroit win, because we talked about all the injuries. I got this image of Dan Skipper puking in a trash can in the middle of Dan Campbell's speech, and he's like, "Yeah, keep puking, Dan."
Why do you have to call him out?
Look, because he loves it. Because it's like, look at this shit, dude. It was the most Detroit way to win. It's like you had all these damn injuries. You win going for fourth down a bunch of times. You had to overcome the rough 2-3 minute stretch in the beginning of the second half where it was like Green Bay. And I think this is part of it. When you're playing with backups on defense, you have the element of surprise. But coming out of the half, Matt LaFleur is going to figure out a little bit. And I didn't see enough shots early. I thought the flea flicker was a little wasteful. And I thought the timeout was really wasteful. Because if you're going to run the same damn play out of the timeout, you might as well just go 3rd and 13.
Because he was very concerned about the clock there at the end.
Yes. And they throw short of the sticks on that third down. So
yeah.
Detroit just being tougher than the other team. Detroit just being – and Jaden Reed, there's two matchup things in this game that really matter. You have Brian Branch, and, people wonder why Jaden Reed didn't get the ball a lot. I would assume, without having looked at the All-22, that they got Branch on him a good bit. But there's also – what did you see, Noel?
Yeah, it was there was a lot of Branch on him, but there was also, I would just say, a lot of attention paid to him.
Extra.
Even in situations where it was kind of a committee approach to managing him.
And
they did a great job.
And that's interesting because last night you texted me and we were talking about the Eagles matchup that's inevitable. It almost feels like a collision course. All right, you go around the room, and you're not Eagles fans, but except for Nate maybe.
Nate's a Broncos fan.
But let's say the Eagles played the Lions in the playoffs, which seems inevitable. Do you feel better or worse after seeing the Lions last night? After seeing Green Bay and the Lions? Because better or worse for the Eagles?
I would
Better.
feel worse.
I would think better.
I feel better.
I would think better because Jacobs had 3 touchdowns, but he only had 66 rushing yards. And I just feel like the way the Eagles are, like their offense is moving, I think that means they'll be able to score a lot of points. It doesn't mean it won't be a shootout, but I just think like right now the Eagles can like put up more points.
Dude, the Lions have earned the right to be called the best team in the NFC, so don't get it twisted here. I'm not being Mr. Homer and saying, but what I am saying is like in the beginning of the season it seemed like the gap was like this. Lions haven't lost in 11 games or whatever it is since September 15th. I feel like the gap's smaller now to where, listen, I think one of the fatal flaws that Green Bay has when they play this team is the linebackers aren't that good in coverage. Okay, and you have to have good backer play to be able to hang in there with Detroit. The backer play has been a lot better in Philly. I think one of the enormous matchups you have is Cooper DeJean in the slot, right? Because if you've got a guy who can actually compete with Amon-Ra St. Brown, who's tremendous, then that gives you a higher chance of winning the game. You got Quinyon Mitchell, who can take somebody way outside. And then it becomes a game where it's stopping the run and shutting down the tight end. And Tim Patrick's been doing a really good job. But I think the matchup favors the Eagles more than it does the Packers. And I think additionally, the point you brought up, Jacobs had a lot of – they gave him the ball 10 times on one drive. The ugliest touchdown drive on Thursday Night Football last night was that, like, hey, Jordan's rattled. We're just going to run the rock, which I thought was really wise. The Eagles are going to be able to run the ball on a group like this. And the Eagles, if you're not going to get healthy defensively, if the Lions are healthy, as they were a couple months ago, I think it definitely favors the Lions. But in their current form, it is hard for me to imagine that the Lions match up defensively as well as they did against Green Bay, who was down Romeo Doubs. So you have somebody in the slot, you have extra attention paid to Jaden Reed, and then it becomes Dontavian Wicks has got to win, and he did at times. And then it becomes, tight ends got to win. And if the run game's not getting going, it becomes a lot harder. I think it's also, they had problems with blitz pickup. The Eagles won't have as many problems. And speaking of blitz pickup, David Montgomery had some huge reps.
Head over heels.
In blitz pickup.
Yeah.
And Jared Goff, we've gone this whole game without talking about Jared Goff. Jared Goff is a victim of how accurate and efficient he's been because we're bored with it. I think, the Nixon pick last night, we were talking about it. I think he's thinking it's 2 and Nixon's going to be in the flat, but Nixon, the play before, was in the flat. He took his little comeback, but then Nixon kind of baited him, and that's a rare bad decision from Goff. Other than that, the ball barely hit the ground as usual, and when it did, it was in the stands because he was making good decisions in the red zone to burn it. So the Lions just gutsy win.
You know who else I like that result for?
Who?
The Green Bay Packers, because they were going to be a wild card team most likely no matter what.
Yep.
Even if they had won last night, they're still a game back at Detroit. It's going to be hard to win that division. So you might have to go back into that building again. And I think that gives you the chip on your shoulder. Hey, we should have won that game in early December. We didn't. Here's our other shot. Let's get it done. I don't know who the vocal leader is on that team.
Yeah.
It doesn't that person doesn't stand out to me, but I think it's just built in when you have a really close loss like this that you feel you had multiple shots, that you're itching to get that chance again, and you can compete with these guys.
I think if they go back, it'll be close again. And having Romeo Doubs would help. Now the question is for Detroit, I don't want Detroit fans to be like, hey, what about us? We have 1 million injuries. If you missed all the other stuff we said, I'll say it again. You have 1 million injuries. Okay, what you've done has been nothing short of remarkable. Aaron Glenn again should be like near the top of the list. I'm sold. And that's another thing. You want to talk about windows? Detroit's window, you think it's open for a while. You just never know. If you lose both coordinators, that just happened to Philly a couple years ago. And while I think Dan Campbell is respectfully a superior coach, I also worry about that in this scenario. So, you know why Detroit plays so fucking desperate? I think it's because they know that. I think it's because they're Detroit, but I also think it's because of the teams chasing them in their division. They've never been able to relax all season long, and that can make you really dangerous. A lot of these teams like the Bills, you're going to be tested. You've won your division. It's very early. There's going to be teams that could be complacent going into the playoffs, and that takes a little bit of the flow out of you got to be in a flow state when you go into the playoffs. It's one of the reasons we always talk about, do you play guys? How much do you play them in that last game? That last game against Minnesota might not mean anything to Detroit at that point. That's possible.
They would have to lose at least once before then for it to matter, but yeah, it's possible it could be.
Well, they could lose to Buffalo next week.
Yeah.
If they're banged up the way they are now, I'm just telling you right now, I'm gonna be on Buffalo, and that's not to say they're the better team and they win the Super Bowl, but Detroit's banged up. If they lose that game, let's say they win that game and it means nothing to them at the end of the season. The Minnesota Vikings are going to play Detroit Lions. Let's say Minnesota can play spoiler and take home field away from these guys. It'd be pretty ironic. Minnesota having to go to Philly because they beat Detroit. Back to the scene of the crime from 2017 where the fans were like, what the fuck is this? Or what the frick is this, they probably said. This flipping crazy.
What in the Culvers?
This flipping play. Yeah, Culvers is so good. I miss Culvers, bro. But yeah, it would have been, had they lost this game, we would have been talking a lot about whoa, What does this mean? Who's got a shot at it? Detroit just doing the same thing they've done all year. Just keep the competition right behind them, and we'll see if somebody can make a push. But just an incredible game. Incredible game. Anybody we didn't give love who you think should have gotten love?
Dan Skipper. After the game, I don't know if you saw this, but he was puking in the locker room.
I did.
Dan Campbell was
I did
doing his
see
thing, and
Yeah.
he was like, "That's right, Dan.
I did see
You
it.
keep puking."
Yeah, it was awesome.
That's a good point, Cowboy.
Awesome.
That was good.
Thanks. My bad.
No, you're good. No, I saw that right before I came into work, and you had Branch go down with cramps, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
For a moment there when he's down, I'm kind of like, oh, your season's flashing before your eyes.
Oh, you see the podcast curse?
What's the podcast curse?
Reed was on Ahmad St. Bra. His
Amon Ross St. Brown's podcast.
Amon Ra.
The sun god?
Yeah, he was on his podcast earlier in the season, and all he was saying, he was like, yeah, wait until week 13 when
Yeah.
we come to Detroit.
Yeah.
And he had zeros across the board.
Well, I also don't think he anticipated Dobbs being out, and I think that really mattered. But yeah,
but
no,
zeros across the board,
I know, it's
bro.
bad.
Like zeros
bad.
is pretty bad.
it's not good.
Not good.
Not, and like I saw the Matt LaFleur thing before the game. I think Matt's a great coach. I don't think it was their best night, Halfley or him, but you see that thing with the guy holding the flag. Supposedly,
weird. Yeah.
well, supposedly according to Matt LaFleur, the guy had like left the flag and came over and was doing like throat slash signals to the Packers, and then like LaFleur's coming over and trying to like break it up, and the guy just keeps going, and LaFleur got pretty mad. So
He said after the game he was yelling at our players and giving the throat slash gesture. I've never seen anything like that. I would just like security to step in there and get him off the field.
What was the flag?
the American flag.
The American flag. Got it.
Yeah. Yeah. When you're down there to do the flag, just do the flag.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, anyway, guys, I wish I could tell you there's a dynamite slate coming up this weekend. Pull up the slate. Do
Hot
it.
slate. Hot
Pull
slate.
it.
Hot
Pull up
Pull
the
it.
slate.
Pull it.
A lot of teams on buys here in middle of December.
What do we think is the biggest playoff implication game, Matt and Aki?
Definitely the NFC West battle between the Seahawks and Cardinals.
Right. The loser goes to 20% or something like that to win the division.
Something like that.
Yeah, so this is huge. I guess we can start with this one. Even though, like, I think everybody's like, all right, we've already seen it. Like, we just saw it 2 weeks ago. It wasn't that exciting. I would anticipate more points in this game. I really would. I'm not saying it's an over make, but, yeah, you're getting the pen out. It's great.
Put a little O next to it.
We're gonna do the gambling show after this. But I think the number one thing, if you're the Cardinals, is imagine being in the Cardinals offensive line room and losing this game you lost this weekend and going back to Arizona, getting to your facility, you're sore, you've lost a couple in a row, and they're like, all right, guys, this is who we got to stop. The guy that 10 days ago kicked our ass on national television. Oh, yeah, you're still sore from that. Leonard Williams. You got to stop Leonard Williams. The guard play has not been good. And this guy, whether it was them or the Jets the last couple weeks, is playing like his hair is on fire. I mean, he's playing some of the best ball of his career. So, number one, you got to get him blocked. I think an exciting development for the Seahawks is Nwosu has been activated off IR. You talk about a big lift for a defense that's emerging as we speak. Linebacker play has improved. We always like to cover guys outside. I actually think, with Leonard Williams playing the way he's playing, there's an argument to be made that they have the best defensive line in the NFC West, right there with the Rams. Right now, the way it is, I mean, it's hard to argue against that. With San Francisco's injuries, they have an opportunity to cement themselves as that lead dog group if they have another week like they had the last couple. And Leonard Williams, the straw that stirs the drink. I I think what's interesting is you look at Kyler Murray under pressure the last couple weeks. He has not been good. And early in the season, he was real good under pressure. And so Cliff Kingsbury, best seat. You know, like maybe it's me, but maybe it's you too. You know what I mean? I think it might be a little bit of both. Luckily for Cliff, he had that big week last week, but like Kyler has not played as well as of late. And I said this before, like I don't think they have the man beaters. Like Marvin Harrison Jr. is a nice big target, and he's going to be a really good player. But I'm talking about somebody that can create a lot of separation. I like Dortch, but he's like an underneath guy. You got to find a way to get McBride in the end zone. Two of the craziest stats I read this year. McBride hadn't had a touchdown, and Keanu Benton hasn't had a sack. Keanu Benton's had a really good win rate. He's up in the teens, doesn't have a sack. So that would,
as we're starting to like look ahead a little bit, thinking about like the future possible matchups. If you're the Packers, would you be more, which likely would play the NFC West champion? Would you be more intimidated or happier to go like to Seattle or to Arizona?
I think if I'm the Packers, I'd probably rather go to Arizona. You know, it's just generally, I don't know. Arizona's a tough place to play.
Kyler's not beating the allegations. New Call of Duty dropped 2 weeks ago. That's when he started declining.
Stop it. 2 weeks ago?
2 weeks ago, bro. He's not beating the allegations.
Damn, what if he's not playing at all, but he's just like, what if they think
matter.
I'm playing, and that's what's fucking his head up?
Doesn't matter.
I don't know. I don't know who you'd rather play. Noel, I don't know who you'd rather play. I'd probably rather play Arizona with that front.
Yeah, I agree.
Both
I
fronts,
agree. I think
both offensive lines are kind of shit.
right. Yeah, and you were talking about the Seahawks defensively, how much better they've gotten over the course of the year. Like since week 11, they ranked 5th in defensive rushing efficiency after ranking 24th in that category through the first 10 weeks. So they're a much better unit defensively. And to your point about the man beaters for the Cardinals, I think there's just a lot more you have to consider matching up with the Seahawks, that offense with the weapons they have in Arizona. So I agree. I think the matchup Green Bay would want is Arizona.
And I think Jacobs would have a day on the ground. And so, like I think if you're the Packers, you like that matchup either way. But yeah, no. Here's the interesting conversation I want to bring up. Like, and I mean this with all due respect, Geno Smith. He's been incredible in this second act. But, like, we already know they're going to probably move on from him after the year. McDonald's, the writing's on the wall. You can get out of that contract next year. If you're the Seahawks, do you stay with Geno because you've played yourself into a position where you're probably not going to be able to draft? Or is it a veteran quarterback and you're trying to find the next Geno? And part two of that question, I wonder who that would be. I think you definitely monitor Minnesota to find out what happens there. I mean, that would be like a no-brainer, right?
Yep.
But I also think the Justin Fields thing is interesting still. Mm-hmm. You know, I really do. Like, call me a sucker, but I'll jump out of the gym again for Justin Fields. And I think when you have a poor offensive line that you're building, having an athlete back there really helps. You know, and it also helps your run game, which is something they've had a hard time getting going. So it's kind of like a far-off question, but I'm starting to see a team build, right? I'm seeing him build a program, right? McDonald's getting the defense going. They've improved. They have some key pieces. I think this could be a fun team the next couple of years, not just this year. Obviously, I want to give them their due. They got a chance to go to the playoffs. But I think the next couple of years, they'll have some opportunities.
And to your point about Fields, that could be the perfect opportunity to integrate a guy for a year where you still have Geno, use him in packages like Pittsburgh uses him, and then
that's absolutely right.
Develop him in your system for a year, and then maybe he's ready to take over.
Because Geno's been up and down this year. There's no secret. You know, he's had some he's streaky, man. You know, and I certainly feel for him because the offensive line is not great. Who do you like? Do you like anybody there next year?
There'll be a quarterback there at the end of the first, and Jalen Milroe, who I like a lot.
You think Milroe will be a good pro?
Yeah.
Yeah. I also think we're starting to realize that like you can find guys in the back half of the first.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Bo Nix is gonna have a lot of people and Jalen Hurts and all these guys. So, there's no right way to do it anymore, but they just might be spinning that vet wheel again because there's a lot of things they're going to want to do to fortify the offensive line as well.
Anybody but Aaron Rodgers.
Rodgers ain't going there. Here's another shocking stat. Rodgers hadn't had a 300-yard game, and, it was a lot. It was more than anybody.
I'm betting him this weekend. I don't think he's going out like that.
Yeah, write that one down, too.
I think,
Are teams in on it? Do you think someone will bite next year?
I don't think so. I mean,
he's auditioning right now. I think he's gonna start playing really well these last games.
Last game.
I think he's gonna be really pulling all the strings these last games because he has no choice but to right now. You're on tape now. You're good as your last game, and I feel like if he is thinking about playing again after this year,
this is a big month for him.
It's a huge month because no one wants to invest in that.
What would you have to see to undo a lot of the extra stuff, and what organization would be
someone desperate? You never know what's going to happen.
Who's that desperate team?
I mean, no one right now, but camp comes around. Another team might catch the injury bug early or something and have to be like, damn, we have to bring someone in, and he can sneak in somewhere. It's just about, he's good enough that if he gets in the building, he could find his way to get on the field and back to where not back to where he was, but back to winning games or helping an organization.
I'll still see flashes of it.
Yeah, exactly.
And I also have said this, the Jets offense has not been set up properly, especially for a guy who can't move like that, so I don't know where it would be. Here's an interesting thing I heard. And, I know there was a couple years ago, the Rodgers to San Francisco thing would have been cool. And I do think a couple years ago it would have been cool, but not so much now.
Yeah.
As the debate about whether or not to pay Purdy rages on, does anybody raise your hand if you wouldn't pay Purdy?
If you wouldn't?
Yeah. Do we have anybody like that in this?
God, no, you have to pay him.
You have to pay him.
I think you have to pay him.
Yeah.
Okay, so.
I guess you don't have to.
But here was the interesting bit of news I heard on San Francisco, just bouncing around a little bit. I sent this article over to Nolan this morning, was there's a rumor that Bezos is going to buy the Bears. And if he buys the Bears, there's also rumors that have been kind of, I don't know if they've been perpetuated or created by Mike Florio, but one of the two, where they're talking about trading for Kyle Shanahan as a coach. The old coach trade thing, which of course has happened a couple times in the history of the league.
But trading what?
I don't know what they'd have to trade to get him, but the thing about Bezos is he would definitely pay the San Francisco 49ers portion of his salary. You know what I'm saying? And so there's some interesting questions that have to be answered this offseason. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun for people that get bored in the offseason without football. There's going to be a lot of, the Aaron Rodgers thing, I think you get to the point where he's campaigning for a job and people don't want to give him one because he's not a backup. He's not a veteran that you bring in to help your young quarterback. He'd have to do a 180. This documentary would have to be something.
Yeah.
The coaches have no trade clause, or can you stop that, or if you're about to get traded, it's just oh, you got to go.
I don't know if coaches can have no trade clauses.
So it's something
their contracts aren't public, so there could be something in the language of the contract that we don't know about.
I thought I remembered them having some privilege that players don't. That they all have no trade
I think they
clauses.
generally have a say.
Yeah.
They generally have some degree of a say.
Where players don't.
Okay.
So
Right.
And if I were Kyle Shanahan and maybe I needed a fresh start, that Chicago job's attractive. Let's hit that off right now before we get into the other games. Let's say Chicago hires somebody not named Ben Johnson, which has been kind of the new sexy name. And if you're Ben Johnson, is there somewhere you'd rather be than Chicago?
I can't get over the Caleb Williams stat from USC where every single one of his passing numbers came after holding the ball for 7 seconds.
Right. That was a lot of my nervousness about the guy, but he's really I don't think he's thrown a pick in 6 games.
Yeah.
I mean, he's definitely making better decisions minus the sacks. Who do you guys like outside of Ben?
Ben Light, Joe Brady.
Oh, Ben Light. Yeah, Ben Light.
Ben Light.
Joe Brady's going to be a hot name. And if I'm Buffalo and you've got your franchise quarterback who seems to work really well with him, Maybe that's the time. And this is interesting to talk about always, like protecting your coordinators against leaving with huge sums of money. I don't know like when the first time that happens is, but I really think we could enter an age where, you know, you're starting to pay offensive coordinators like exorbitant amounts of money to stay.
Especially if it's an owner like Bezos that like completely uncaps what you can offer.
You ain't going anywhere.
Yeah.
But obviously, I think when you make the Bears hire, you want to hire an offensive guy so he doesn't leave, which is why the Belichick thing to me, as much I love Bill, put him in anywhere but UNC,
North Carolina,
which I think is an exercise. And I think it's without, and this isn't me speaking on, I don't even ask Bill what he wants to do because I don't want to put him on the spot. And like Nolan's at Inside the NFL with me every week. That's just not the kind of conversations that come up. So I don't know something, but as an analyst, when I hear Bill interviews at UNC, I think he's just sending a message to people that he wants to get back in the game. Because how do you actually, even though everybody knows it, how do you actually send that message? It also gives you some practice, you know, going through an interview.
I look at it from the other perspective, and that it's most likely to me Bill doing somebody a favor. Like, hey, I'm at UNC. I have a connection to Belichick. Can we get you on a Zoom to ask for your input about our coaching search?
Right.
Sure, fine, we'll do. And then it leaks out that he's talking to Carolina about their coaching vacancy.
I think maybe
which is
both
not
things.
untrue.
I think both things might be true.
Yeah.
You know, it's beneficial for UNC. It's like an audit, right?
Yeah.
And then I'd love for him to come audit up here.
Yeah.
Or no one wants to hear it, or maybe he really wants that job.
He could. How fun would that be?
OBX is nice.
Yeah, no.
And it's
Not close enough
very
to the
far
Navy.
from Chapel Hill.
It's also not close enough to like the Navy.
I just can't imagine.
I can't either. But here's a wild card in Chicago. I'm not saying because the exercise is kind of like a wild card exercise. You remember when Dion went to Barstool for a second, and then he got back into coaching?
Mm-hmm.
You know who just signed with Barstool? You think John Gruden's doing all this shit just because he was feeling nicey?
Oh.
I think he wants to get back into coaching, and I do think his name's going to be circulating, if not this cycle, very soon.
Back to Vegas?
Huh.
No, not to Vegas. No, I know what you're going to say.
The emails?
Yeah, okay.
John's emails?
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, the president of the United States.
Okay.
Okay, so it doesn't fucking matter anymore. Nothing matters. Okay,
Wait-
so John Gruden, if he can help a young quarterback, they're going to set the emails on fire.
Since it's not a zero-sum game, like if you sign a coach from somewhere else, you could hurt another team, right? What about Cliff? Like they have the best young quarterback. He's partnered with it. If you get him from DC, partner him with Caleb, not only could that work, you could also screw over a potential.
That's the
future
Ben
rival.
Johnson model, very directly. It's like Ben Johnson, right hire, could really disrupt the flow of the Lions. But I don't think Cliff, because I think there's enough uncertainty as to whether or not his offense lasts throughout the season. Like, just because of what happened last week, that doesn't make me feel like, we fixed it. I do think that's a concern.
And they were together at USC because Cliff was that senior offensive analyst last year. So they have.
Oh, that's a good point, Tales of Weed Smoker. Gruden's suing the NFL. He can't come back. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But the same thing, like, what's up with B. Flo's thing? Didn't he have a case against the NFL?
Yep.
Has that expired? Is that case over? No, it's not our strong suit.
I read about
NFL
it,
business.
I think it's like been thrown out, but I don't.
I'd love to see
declared
I'd love to see B. Flo still in the mix somewhere as a head coach. But the point is, I think you hire an offensive guy.
This man is younger than us. His name's Dan Pitcher. He's the offensive coordinator for the Cincinnati Bengals. He's been on the staff for a couple years. I like this guy. I like the cut of his jib.
Like he's like a Stefanski.
He's like a Stefanski.
He's younger than us, you said?
Well, maybe not you. He's 37.
Hey, you know who's younger than us?
37.
I turn 37 next week.
Oh, happy early birthday.
Yeah, happy early birthday.
Why is his hair all gray?
Well,
That
can happen. Yeah.
Hey,
I'm starting to get grays.
really?
Yeah. And
Where?
like like
Yeah, I don't see them on your head.
certain like on my face. I just gotta shape up. So like I got trim, but like I would pluck them and they just grow longer. Like it's like whiskers now.
Hey, I got a shape up this week
Yep.
at the at Inside the NFL. My barber,
Yep.
who does a great job, and the makeup gal also does a great job, but she collided with the barber while he was lining me up.
Oh.
I got a cut on my face. You see it? You see
Oh,
that
yeah,
cut?
I see that
You
cut.
got zeked?
Zeked. I got zeked.
They zeked you?
Yeah, they zeked me, dog. So,
Damn.
anyways,
Was there blood?
a little bit of blood, but
In the streets, now you can say, yo, they try to buck 50 me.
they tried to buck 50 me. Yeah. I know what that is.
Razor to the face.
I know what that is.
It's actually a razor to the face. It's actually what
I got
happened.
buck 50 to work. Workers' comp.
Was everybody saying sorry?
Not really,
Damn.
because I didn't make a big deal about it because I don't want to make anybody feel bad. But I was like, oh, I got a cut on my face. So,
One last.
one last rumor. Can I give you another Bears-related rumor?
Yeah, rumors, gossip.
Kevin Warren turned down Harbaugh preseason.
Apparently,
wanted-
Harbaugh wanted to be on the Bears.
Isn't that
Coach the
just a
Bears.
Big Ten sour grapes thing?
Yeah.
What is that?
I don't know. It's a mistake is what that is.
Yeah, it's a mistake. It's a mistake. Although, I think maybe you look up in a year and you got an offensive head coach, who's going to help this quarterback greatly, and maybe it all works out.
Is there any sense in going like Mike Vrabel's out there with the Cleveland Browns? He has head coaching experience. Your last two head coaches that you went and got, they were first-time head coaches. Don't you want somebody in that seat? And then you can go scoop a young
Dan Pitcher.
Dan Pitcher, be my offensive coordinator.
right.
The problem with the
Kubiak,
coordinator,
come be
the
my
problem with the
offensive
coordinator, and Liam Cohen's name should be in the mix too. Arthur Smith should be in the mix. Okay, you talk about who reminds you a little bit of Caleb sometimes. I mean, Caleb's got a little Mahomes in him, a little Russ in him. It's the stature, it's the way they move in the pocket. I think Arthur Smith is going to have a job before long. I don't know if this is the right place for him, but
Tar Heel.
I wouldn't want to hire I wouldn't want to hire a defensive guy because of the old Brandon Staley, Justin Herbert thing. Kind of like it's just, and you don't want your coordinators leaving. You don't want to have to. There are very few teams that actually adjust and nail the Joe Brady thing. You know what I mean? Usually it ends up with, hey, we wasted another year or two trying to find the right coordinator for this guy, and we stunned his development. So, yeah. So that's a lot on the Bears. Let's get to probably the other big game of the week.
Chargers-Chiefs.
Chargers-Chiefs. It's a huge game.
Big one. If the Chargers pull the win, the Bills have a better shot at the 1 seed.
Totally. I don't know how the math works on that, but obviously the Chiefs would then have 2 losses. If the Bills can take care of business in L.A., they're neck and neck. And I think that would be a huge blow to Kansas City's Super Bowl chances just because of the way the defense is playing. I've said this before, but when you have a defense that's struggling to rush the passer, although Omenihu came back last week and looked good, and that's definitely a big deal. If you're giving up explosives, you want to play at home in the playoffs. You just do. It favors the defense. And so I think the home field deal is huge for them. I think this game's going to feel like a playoff game. I think the main thing, if you're the Chiefs, that you want to get squared is the tackle position, especially the left tackle, right? And that's why DJ Humphries is in the building, who's, a veteran. He's played at a high level in the league. He played in Arizona for a long time. He's coming in to put out a fire. And I read an article this week that, quite frankly, if I'm Wanye Morris, I'm offended by the contents of the article. It's just people throwing a fucking party because this guy shows up. It's like, and then he was greeted by this person, and then it was like Brady walking into the Vegas facility was the way they treated DJ Humphries when he walked. And I want you to at home imagine going to the office one day and they're like, yeah, we're replacing you with this guy, but you still got to work next to him. And when he shows up, everybody's going to clap for him. Can you imagine people at the office basically like, you know what I mean? Hey, we're so happy you're here because this other guy, he sucks. That's the reality in the NFL. It is really hard sometimes for players, and Morris is a young player. The guy from BYU is a young player, but it doesn't feel good when everybody in the building can't wait to see the guy and greet the guy that is coming in to do your job, presumably a lot better than you're doing. For the Chiefs, he has to play well. If he can play well, I think the offense looks a lot better. The good news is Pacheco's back. You still saw the explosiveness. He had a long run last week. That's a game where they probably pull away if the defense plays like they did last year. And so it kind of comes down to tackle position, defense playing better. And for me in this game, the thing I'm interested in seeing is what wide receiver not named Lad McConkey is going to step up for the Chargers.
If he plays.
That's it.
Lad's ding.
Right. So, if it's not Lad, if Lad's down, if Lad's up, somebody else has to win. 6 catches, whatever it was, 33 yards last week. 8 catches, 33 yards for everybody not named Lad McConkey. It's just not good enough. It's not good enough. I think what you're realizing is, as the season goes on, is their run game is not as dynamic as it was when J.K. Dobbins was averaging 10 yards a pop. Of all things that you knew wouldn't last in the NFL this year was that number. And I think also on the other side of the ball, it's going to be won and lost on the interior for the Chargers. Those guys inside are very, very good for the Chiefs. And if they can run the ball, it's going to be a hard day. So I'm looking forward to this game. Since we're doing rumors, Eric Bieniemy was just fired at UCLA as the offensive coordinator. You kind of wonder with all the familiar faces that like to pop back into Kansas City if maybe he comes back in as a consultant or like helps out Matt Nagy calling plays. Like that's the one thing. Sometimes in the NFL, it doesn't work somewhere else for the guy, but it really works where he's used to being. And I think this might be one of those things. It's kind of like when Matt Patricia goes somewhere else. And it just doesn't work, whether it's a head coach in Detroit or having to step in last year in Philly, albeit that was a really tough ask, mid-season with the state of their secondary. Matt's one of the most he's been one of the most welcome back coach. Like Bill always wants Matt. Even inside the NFL, Matt's like right there with him. Bieniemy in that building, I think the attention to detail is the thing that ironically got him in trouble before with the intensity with which he pursues perfection and the way he motherfucks guys and gets on guys for not doing it. It could rub some people the wrong way, but I think sometimes they're missing that. Andy Reid is one of the best coaches of all time, one of the best offensive minds of all time, but he's not necessarily the hammer. He's a guy you don't want to let down. Eric Bieniemy, by all accounts, is a guy that he's gonna before you make the mistake, he's gonna tell you made the mistake. Like he's gonna be you're gonna find out you made a mistake because he's gonna be in your fucking ear. And I don't hate the idea of him coming back around the building for this stretch run. So we'll see. But this game's gonna be a lot of fun.
I'm sure Matt Nagy would be fired up too.
Well, if Matt Nagy wants to win a damn Super Bowl again, I think sometimes it's good to have other people in the building that can give you an alternative take on what you're doing. I mean, he doesn't have to have a title.
You want a stat?
Yeah, hit me.
Talking about Chargers receivers.
Sure.
Josh Palmer has as many receptions this year as Trey McBride in the last 2 weeks.
That's crazy.
2 weeks.
I like Josh Palmer. Of all the guys that are not named Lad McConkey in L.A., I like him. I dislike him the least.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So, big one Sunday night. And, of course, nice to have a good night game to look ahead to when you got a slate like this. As I continue to shit on the slate, can I offer you Atlanta, Minnesota? I think the key to the Atlanta-Minnesota game, and, of course, this is a huge game for Atlanta, because I think they're going to wake up Monday morning, and it could be close, but I think they're going to wake up Monday morning and see that lead in the NFC South evaporate, because I think the Bucs have a great opportunity. What happened? Oh, you're writing shit down again?
Mm-hmm.
the Bucks have a great opportunity. I'm going to start saying things. I might be saying something right now that you just don't know.
That's true.
The Bucks have a great opportunity to seize this weekend and beat the Raiders.
Carpe diem.
And of course, if Minnesota can get the win, they're in first place. And so I think the key to this game is we talked a lot about Kirk Cousins and his Achilles on Monday. It's not the same. He's not snapping the ball off. He's not like a Josh Allen where he can throw all arm. Like, he really does need that back leg. He does.
What would you say is his Achilles heel?
It seems to be the Achilles.
Yeah, all right.
And so I think what we're finding is that maybe you shouldn't take a stab at quarterbacks off an Achilles, especially if they're in their 30s. That seems to be an experiment that hasn't gone well for people. Although Vinny Testaverde way back in the day, like, he was the guy that and this is back when they had a harder time repairing these things. He blew his Achilles in his 30s and came back and played a long time. Same thing with Dan Marino. I think Marino had an Achilles, but it just hasn't gone as well. And I'm watching Kirk. You watch him in 2018. It's not the same. 19. I watched his tape. He's snapping the ball off. He doesn't snap it off anymore. The ball's outside the numbers look like, I said, bags of money. These 20-mile-per-hour in cuts, man. He can get the Vikings with in cuts. The Vikings have a lot of trouble in the middle of the field relative to their reputation. And so if I'm Brian Flores and, thank God for the Vikings' sake, I'm not Brian Flores because he's really good at what he does. I think he'll figure this out. They have to take the middle of the field away. And so, I play more 2. They play 3, which is going to have less guys in the middle of the field than 2. And then they play 4, which obviously is the same thing. They major in those 2. They also minor in 2. Okay, I would major in 2 this weekend, and I would have the underneath defenders taken away in cuts and dropping with depth and forcing him to take checkdowns. That would be what I would do. Stopping the run, pretty good. That's what we do well. And, of course, getting Kirk off the spot, which they should be very good at, right? So I think this is a really, really interesting game because if they weren't playing the Vikings, who are going to bring the house and happen to be Kirk's old team, I don't know if Kirk gets a chance to run out of tunnel this weekend as the starting quarterback. I don't think this is the week to make the turn to Michael Penix. But if Kirk does not play well and he continues to play the way he's played the past month of the season, if you believe it's not bad for Penix's development, you put him in.
Next 2 games will be Raiders and Giants,
which is a good soft landing spot for a rookie quarterback. You know what I mean? So,
and even more so, we know Flores has the highest blitz rate in the NFL. The Vikings get pressure on 27.2% of those plays. Yeah. Cousins 2.9% turnover-worthy play rate from a clean pocket, 7.9 under pressure.
Yeah,
5% jump.
Seems worse.
He can't step into throws. When you have people around your feet and he can't adjust his platform. So he's kind of a lawn deer back there, is what we used to call guys who couldn't move. And, I think this is a tough matchup for them. I also want to say this, and I think last night, it's almost like Dan Campbell locked up Coach of the Year. Like last night was his Heisman moment, I feel like. Just doing what he does, winning with all these guys down, their record. But I do think Kevin O'Connell should be in the conversation, and he is. I think his odds are, he's plus 450 right now. Second, tied with Tomlin. And I want you to look back. These are one-score game numbers from him. 2022, 11-0. 2023, 6-8. 7-1 in 2024. That's a mark of a damn good coach, in my opinion. And I think what he has, it's kind of like we talk about the MVP award. Sometimes it's best record for the coach, right? Plus storyline. I think what we should be taking into account is the other 2 guys, and I'm not taking anything away from them because you know me, I love Dan Campbell, I love Mike Tomlin. Kevin O'Connell lords over the offense, and that offense has been a huge part of what they do. I think they've made great adjustments every week in the second half. They've started a lot of games slow. and then, they'll take off as the game goes on. Arizona was an example of that. I think bringing in Sam Darnold and being able to get him on the same page this quickly should factor into this conversation about Coach of the Year. I go week after week. Whenever they need a big score late in the game, a big drive, whether it's to go up 2 scores or win the game, they have answered the bell this year. Niners week 3, it's 2014. After the Niners score, they go on a 14-play, 7-minute, 62-yard drive, kick a field goal under 4 minutes. Packers got close. 7 plays, 55 yards, field goal. Jets, same thing. You remember that game in London? They tack on a field goal, make the Jets, pursue a touchdown late in the game. Same thing with the Colts game. It's 14-10 late. They find a way to go 8 plays, 60 yards, and score with 2 minutes to go. They put these games on ice. They've won low-scoring games. Jacksonville, where the quarterback throws a bunch of picks. They found themselves down. They've come back and won. So, you talk about replacing the left tackle, onboarding the quarterback, dealing with the death of Kyrie Jackson, right? These are hard things. So I want to give him his flowers here, so to speak, even if he doesn't win the award. I'm a big fan of Kevin O'Connell. And on the other side of things, I read a very interesting article detailing the Falcons' process in coming to the Kirk Cousins decision. It's an Albert Breer article from March, actually, but I think going back and reading it now on SI, knowing what we know, you're reading it, it's like you're watching a movie and you know the ending of the movie. You're like, don't do that. Why are y'all doing that? Yeah, Justin Fields would have been fine. Then you could have gone after Danielle Hunter and some of the guys they were talking about defensively, Christian Wilkins. They were this close to opting for a cheaper option. And I think for Minnesota, on the other side of it, that's another thing that comes into play talking about Kevin O'Connell. Kevin O'Connell knew when to cut bait. It's not like they didn't, in some ways, ask Kirk back, but when Kirk started asking for guarantees, I think that said a lot. It's like a canary in the coal mine there for a guy that had just kept on playing on the franchise tag and betting on himself. Mm-hmm. When you start asking for guarantees off an Achilles, and the Achilles in and of itself in a vacuum, it would have been unsound to ask Kirk back. And I think, they were maybe fortunate that Atlanta made an offer like they did, but part of me believes that they would have opted to go a different direction no matter what. And I think Kevin O'Connell and Kwesi deserve credit for that. As much as Vikings fans might not like some of the draft picks that Kwesi's, made, I think the free agency decisions that they've made this offseason have been incredible. I mean, you look offensive, defensive side of the football, Cashman, Grenard, Van Ginkel. I mean, B-Flow knows what he wants in guys. It takes a special kind of guy to play his defense. I mean, look at Mac Wilson. Guy like that making big plays last week. He was a guy who was in New England before. So they've got coaches that understand their personnel. And, I think Kevin O'Connell is the epicenter of that whole thing and deserves a lot of credit.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
How has Cam Robinson been playing?
Up and down. Didn't he get dinged last week?
He did.
Yeah, he got dinged last week. I thought in the first game against the Colts, the eye test said he played really well, and then you read he gave up some pressures. All we need from him, if we're the Vikings, is stability. You just can't have a Wanye Morris situation. So I think it's mission accomplished,
Right or wrong, that's a minor ding for me on the Kevin O'Connell Coach of the Year resume.
It's Cam Robinson.
The Christian Darrisaw injury.
Oh, yeah, no question. No question. That was a bad one.
That was a bad one.
And, these coaches make decisions all the time where you say, hey, at the end of the game, you shouldn't have this guy in, and you could say, we want to finish, and yada, yada, the team's down 2 scores or up 2 scores or whatever. But this was like end of half.
Correct.
Where you weren't going to go score.
Take a knee.
So I agree with you there. It's a good point.
Real fast.
What if they were like, Coach of the Year, Dan Campbell? Kevin, you would have won it if you weren't such a fucking idiot before halftime that one game.
And Dan I know we've covered this ground, but the freaking quarterback fell down on the 4th down play. I mean, how?
That's unbelievable. It's so Detroit.
It's crazy.
And for a second there, I'm like, oh, he's down.
Me too.
I know.
Me too.
You know, but nobody touched him down.
Well, if it had been
But I
somebody
thought
else's
It had
ankle,
been, yeah.
But if
somebody
it's
else.
someone, yeah, I thought someone might have stepped on his foot, got through, stepped on his foot real quick, like just a little bit.
And I got to give I got to give some props to the Packers front. They played really hard.
Yeah.
Kenny Clark was balling and chasing dudes down. He chased down Jamison Williams in the open field and just drilled him and forced a 4th and short. If they could have just got off the field, it's a big play. I got a lot of respect for guys that play like that. And, you know, as much as the flashy plays matter, seeing Kenny Clark chase down Jamison Williams, this group is going to be they're going to be relevant in the playoffs. That front is playing better. You know, Enikbare almost ruined the game with that jump on the pile deal. Did you see that at the end of the game? That JOP?
Lucky.
Very lucky. It would have been him and Quay Walker with the dumbest penalties. So
Real fast on the last thing on the Vikings Falcons game. Last week, I mean, we talked about the Vikings and their ability to get pressure. The Falcons are known for not being able to get pressure, except for last week they had 5 sacks against the Chargers. Is that something they can build on? You see them building on in this game? Because we know Darnold is
no, I don't. I just think they kind of are what they are. Like they could have outlier games for sure. And I think like playing it at home in a game like that. Go ahead.
I think those Vikings receivers might get a little better separation than the Chargers receivers.
I think that's the key. Somebody could look up time to pressure last week. It probably is not that quick. You know, it's probably a little bit of patting the ball there. So that's the other big game. That's a 1 p.m., isn't it?
It is.
Okay, and then we got Bills Rams in the 4 p.m. spot. By the way, I'll let you guys decide. What are we doing MRP, most random player, for this week?
I think we should do it for this game.
Okay. Let's go. Go around the room.
While y'all think on it for a second, you're talking about Kevin O'Connell. Can I give you a little Sean McDermott? He will become the 5th coach ever to have 5 straight 11-win seasons. You can say, yeah, well, he's got the quarterback. Yeah, he does. But other coaches have had the quarterback. The group would be Bill Belichick, Andy Reid, Tony Dungy, Tom Landry, and Sean McDermott. 5 straight 11-win seasons.
It's so interesting, man, because I feel like he doesn't get the respect he deserves.
Agreed.
Right? And your contention is what?
That his face is uninteresting, which is not to say it's unattractive. It's a fine face. It's just an uninteresting face.
So you think uninteresting face coaches?
Uninteresting face, even keel, all good things.
Who's got the most uninteresting face? Who really, like Drew Petzing to me, not to go back to Drew Petzing's face, but number one, you got to get outside. You look like you've been inside. You coach in Arizona. You haven't seen the sun all year. It's evident.
See, but I think you're taking uninteresting as bad. Kind of like when somebody says something smells, you just immediately think it smells bad. Things can smell good.
But you know there's some guys that don't get hired because they're just not dynamic. They don't appear dynamic. They don't talk dynamic. They don't.
Right.
Like, Sean's a man of fewer words.
Sean's like a police sketch.
He is.
Face.
Yes.
And then just even keel.
What crime would Sean McDermott have done?
Ooh, I could see any number of
say
things.
I don't want to say it.
Well,
It's too soon.
that one I could see.
Totally, dude.
Yeah. He's good.
He's nondescript.
Yes.
So it's not funny. But Sean McDermott, bro, he has coached his ass off, and I think right down to like making the decision to cut bait with Ken Dorsey when he did. A lot of coaches would have, made that. I think Tomlin hung on too long with guys offensively. Matt Canada, guys like that. But I think Sean knew the gravity of the window being open last year, and surprise, surprise, it's still open.
Well, and quick, name some guys on the Bills defense.
Oh.
You can't do it.
Yes, I can.
I know you can.
I love the Bills defense.
I know you can.
I do. Where do you want me to start?
By the way,
Taylor Rapp, Tamara Hampton.
Hold on. I want to.
Gregory Rousseau, AJ Epinesa, freaking Ed Oliver. Who could forget Ed Oliver? Love that guy. You know who's coming back this week?
Who's that?
I do too. Micah Hyde.
Micah Hyde.
Well, he's not coming back this week. He's like
Practice squad.
He's on the practice squad, which is
Dog, that's pretty good.
I don't know if it is the way that Sean's talking about it.
I mean, you're listing a dozen Buffalo Bills.
Oh,
defenders.
I can keep. Yeah, I can keep going. Klein, fucking, I can
Nice.
do reserves. So,
Hey, he'd be a good urologist. Taron Johnson.
is that what urologists do?
Occasionally.
Okay,
I don't know.
I think they try not to do that.
Okay.
he'd be a bad urologist. There you go.
Yeah.
Workshopped it.
He'd be a bad you got it.
But honestly, the way he's gotten that defense to play, like think about DeMar Hamlin being out there for meaningful snaps this year, like and he's made some plays.
Mm-hmm.
They've had to replace last year. They had to replace a bunch of guys. They've had to do it this year. You know, you talk about the quarterback of your defense going down, Matt Milano. You know, a couple times now, and you know they find a way. You know, Dorian Williams and such. So, you know, I love Sean McDermott. I do, and he was very, very cool to us when we went up there. It was cool. It was cool meeting Sean.
Most random player from this game.
MRP from this game,
I'll give you one. Arthur Moats.
bro. I have some. Mike Carney
JMU, right?
Mike Carney. I could name so many random Rams.
Yeah.
I think our most showed me around JMU.
Oh, for real?
Yeah.
You got to understand. I played with like a stadium full of Rams. Like a full 60,000 person stadium full of Rams. When you're bad, there's so much turnover. I know so many random Rams. So many. Mike Carney's a great one. So
Adam Archuleta.
not as random.
Random. He was awesome.
It's a great name.
I'll give you a random one.
Commentator too.
Craig Dahl. Craig Dahl, my dog, Craig Dahl. He'll comment on some of our socials. I could give you snappers, Jake McQuaid, you know, stuff like that. AJ Feely was a Ram for the Eagles fans in the building. That's where I first met AJ Feely. Me and AJ Feely went down to New Orleans for the Sugar Bowl one year when I was with the Rams. Like that was our Mykonos. And we had a fucking blast. Of course, AJ is like 10 years older than me.
How about the random Wes Welker?
Welker had a
15?
appearance.
Oh, how about
Dude, there were some random people that came through the door. Like Brandon Lloyd for a while was a big part of what we did. Wes Welker.
Wasn't Clay Matthews there for a minute?
I did not play with Clay Matthews. He was there
He was
in
there
LA,
in
though.
20 yeah.
He was there in
You're
LA.
thinking of Adam Carricker.
Who I roomed with and in Wisconsin, in Mequon, Wisconsin. These little wooden college dorm beds. Me and Adam
Taekwon
Carricker.
Underwood?
Yeah? How about Kenny Brett?
Matt Conrath.
Matt Conrath, Charlottesville's very own.
Yeah.
Had a fucking really good career. Talk about being a 3-4 defensive end and playing for our group. We were all attack. He learned to get up that field, man. Big Matt, dude. Matt used to be like 300. What do you think Matt weighs now?
215.
It's crazy how guys lose weight. All right, so this game is going to come down to, in my opinion, the Rams' inability or ability to stop the run. I think if you're the Bills and you want to keep Josh clean, right? You don't need him taking any big shots. I do think they can throw the ball on these guys. I don't think they're going to have a lot of problems moving the ball on these guys. But it kind of starts with the run game. And I think for the Rams and this very talented young group, like they're talented, but they're not like all run stoppers. You know, that's the thing. Like we get wowed by a lot of the pass rush stuff. It is a long day at the office playing James Cook in this group. Like they have found a way, and I think a lot of it is Cromer and, you know, the continuity there, but they've found a way to be a running offense, which I think, like, you look back at games like Dallas last year where they're like, hey, Josh, you're going to throw the ball 17 times this game. They can do that too. So that is something I would worry about if I was a Rams fan. In a game where your back's against the wall and you're at home, what do you usually imagine in that game? I imagine rabid fans, a loud atmosphere, like a really tough thing to walk into for the opposing team. Bills fans are going to take the stadium over. So that's one thing that just continues to be, hey, it's a beautiful stadium. LA's great, all that stuff. And yeah, I'm a St. Louis Rams, so here I am. I'm not throwing shade. I'm not one of these people that just doesn't want to see you do well, but the home field advantage is not, it's not great. And I think on a weekend like this, the Bills are going to take this place over.
And a majority of them will, they'll want to take their tarps off a little sooner because it's not as cold.
Not as cold. That's true. And one more big matchup in this game. Havenstein's back. He's a tackle who's been there since, I was there. He's been there a long time. And a key part of their offensive line. Greg Rousseau, I want to give him credit because he's not like a guy who's always going to be double digits, but he's a big pressure guy. I mean, he can rush his ass off, and he's had a hell of a season. He's up there near the top of the league in pressures. Right there with who was leading the league in pressures?
So Rousseau's 10th right now.
Hendrickson's leading, depending on the list you look at. And Grenard.
Yep.
Grenard, who's played his ass off, and we've talked about pulling up the pressure list right now, I guess. But I think that's a big matchup that you have to. If he wasn't there, I would worry. And Matt Stafford's been playing great ball the last couple weeks. And that's another guy who might be. Do you think he's like auditioning in a way? Do you think the Rams are gonna? What's the deal with the Rams and Stafford next year? So you talk.
Would you take take Stafford over Rodgers if you were an NFL GM?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Now I don't think that commercial's great with the mattress thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, I need it firm like this. She needs it for you. I'm in the NFL. The mattress is going to be how I want the mattress to be, not to be like an asshole.
Dang.
Yeah, dude, because my back gets fucked up. You know what I'm saying?
That's the beauty of this mattress. Everybody can have what they want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Be like that.
I am being like that. I just had to change. You know how long I've been sleeping on a bad mattress? Because my wife likes it. Now, I don't play in the NFL anymore, so I don't have a say. But had we been playing, I'd be like, get this mattress out of here.
You don't have a sleep number? You don't have a sleep number?
No. I need a sleep number, huh?
Maybe.
So that's what this has come down to. I'm ripping the ad, and then I'm going to probably buy one. Do you know what we're really talking about doing? Have you ever heard of an Alaskan king?
Yep. Mm-hmm. And then two sides, two queens.
Talking about doing an Alaskan king. Because I sleep diagonal with my hand stretched out and sideways. And my wife is 5'3", but she sleeps like Shaq. So we're going to get an Alaskan king, I think, pretty soon.
It's fire.
I just didn't know if you guys have heard of these.
Hey, dog, Galaxy Brain, 2 different bedrooms.
Dog, it's been discussed.
So healthy.
Females, I think, take that personal if you try to bring that conversation up.
My wife really doesn't take it personal.
Unless they want it. I feel like they take it. What's wrong with sleeping with me?
Why do they sound like that? Don't be like that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Don't be like that.
See what you did there.
Mm-hmm. So yeah. This is gonna be a game for the Bills where you want to avoid the look ahead spot.
Hold on now.
Huh.
Hold on a minute, player.
If you're vying for a 1 seed,
they're all important.
Are there trap games?
I don't know if there are trap games if you're vying for 1 seed. I mean, I have been vying for 1 seed late in my, but when I was on good teams, they used to ask me about a trap game, and I was like, bro, they were all matters of survival on the teams I was on. So I don't know what a trap game is. Mm-hmm. It's the 6 inches in front of your face. Mm-hmm. It's the Al Pacino quote. Don't do that. I know what you were doing. Everything's about dicks to you. Not to me.
What?
He's talking to Nate right now for the podcast listeners.
Nate gave me the parrot head thing.
I just never heard that quote before. Sorry.
You got to see Any Given Sunday.
You have heard it. We watched that movie together.
Well, I don't remember the quote, guys.
You don't remember the Any Given Sunday speech?
Not all of it.
Really?
Yeah.
It's one of the best speeches ever. Seriously. I put it up there against any speech.
I think it's on a lot of rap songs, but
I got to feel like the president this morning, dude.
Yeah? Donald Trump?
Not this one, but just any president.
Okay.
I was reading to a group of elementary school kids.
Oh.
And then they would do a Q&A at the end, and it's like a huge assembly hall. and they asked what our favorite foods were, and I didn't want to say like lupini beans because I'm eating a high magnesium diet. So I was like, I like donuts, and they were like, yeah. And I was like, and you know what I like? Pink frosting donuts with sprinkles, and they were like, yeah. And I go, and I like white frosting, yeah. Seriously, like I just started listing donut flavors, and it was like whatever I said. I kind of felt like a politician. It was cool.
Do you have that picture ready to go? Yeah, can you throw that up for the people?
This
is my America's teams for the week. This is one of the most remarkable things I've ever seen. Featured in the top right quadrant here are lupini beans.
Oh, that's my breakfast.
That's your breakfast.
All right, you want to zoom in and check out this breakfast?
Bean.
Enhance. So that's an omelet with turkey and a couple handfuls of spinach. That's avocado toast. Those are lupini beans. And that's a bunch of blackberries.
I'm out here eating Cheerios, and you sent me this one morning. And like
That's
how many eggs are in that omelet?
That's
4.
the whitest. That's the whitest breakfast.
Well, excuse me for trying to live a long time. What's going on? You know, like, what do I got to do? What do you want me to do? What do you want me to eat for breakfast?
Literal blackberries.
Yeah, dude. What do you want me to?
That's a good one.
What do you want me to eat for breakfast? What would you have me eat for breakfast?
What do you eat for breakfast, Nate?
You know, bacon, eggs.
Every morning?
Toast. I would say like.
See, that's a hell of a breakfast. I just can't do that every morning.
Yeah, no, I can't do it every morning. All right, so anyways,
For my girl.
this Chris's breakfast looks good. Yeah, it looks like it's fucking, look, 100%.
And
one
you guys
vote.
don't have air fryers? You don't have an air fryer?
I have an air fryer.
You know you could put bacon in the air fryer. It makes it a lot easier. You could do a lot more. Just throw it in there.
Hey, Matt Roth, why no meat? There's turkey in it. I just told you, bro. You know what I'm saying? It's like when I do my Spotify Wrapped and people say, no Sturgill, question mark? That's my least favorite thing in the world. When you show somebody a list and they're like, no.
Oh,
You
I
know?
didn't know you like turkey? I got the hook up on some ground turkey.
I know you do.
it's
Yeah.
nice and healthy.
Your name rings bells.
Clean.
Hey, that's all the big games from the week. Hey, do you guys want to talk about Spotify Wrapped real quick?
Ooh.
I'd love to know what was on your Spotify Wrapped.
Let's do Spotify Wrapped right after we hear from Airbnb.
Let's hear from them. I love my RV. I got a 24-footer. Take my family wherever I want to go. Even better, I can go alone. Sometimes I take Nate and Reed to Tennessee. Sometimes I'll take you to the river. Sometimes, I mean, I've had a lot of great trips in my RV. But what I didn't realize is that when I take my RV somewhere else, I could be double dipping. I could be making money at home while my house is vacant. I could turn it into an Airbnb. And I guess that's the point. You never know how much your house is worth. You think it's worth one thing. You leave for the weekend. You could be raking in cash. So while you're away, your home could be an Airbnb. Had you thought about that? Your home might be worth a lot more than you thought it was. Find out how much at airbnb.com/host. So, fun fact, sometimes I leave my house, just me, and book my house as an Airbnb and don't tell my family. Hey, if your wife's shooting you looks all week, just book your house as an Airbnb and leave. That never happens, the looks part, but
So Spotify Wrapped, this is my favorite tradition on Greenlight because every time we've done this the past 4 years, Macon hands me his phone and says, where is my Spotify Wrapped? And it is an anomaly because it is not on there. Now, I found your top songs from 2024. Spotify curated a playlist for you. But you don't. It's weird. It doesn't have the AI this year because apparently Spotify laid off a lot of people to do this. But it's all AI, and yours does not have it.
It doesn't.
he doesn't have a Spotify Wrapped?
I never do.
Or maybe you
Wrapped?
did you
Come on.
is your Spotify updated? Like if you go to your
I'll
app
look.
store,
I'll look.
you probably have to update it.
Okay, that's a good thought.
Who wants to update their phone? Who's got time
Join
for
Tanner's Jam.
I just got
No.
the same thing.
I got that.
Like, stop, Tanner.
that? Tanner,
Like,
don't want to join your...
like, I'm not trying to
You got
join.
cop energy with your jam here.
My jam's good. I listen to
You guys want my jam?
just that fly like a.
I might report that to HR, yo. Why is that popping up?
Hey,
When I open up my Spotify.
Bo is
HR?
the green light. Bo is the self-proclaimed green light HR representative.
So,
Who'd you have?
Who'd Nate have?
Why you going with me first?
Oh, wrapped.
Well, here,
Doing
wait,
good.
rap
top
or
songs, top
Oh, see?
podcasts, or
There you go.
top artists.
Thanks, Fax.
Okay, I'll tell you while you guys are getting your shit together.
your top songs, or like which
I
one
played
do you want?
5,020 songs this year, but one song I played again and again.
Are you just going through the video?
Yeah, which sucks.
Okay.
That takes
you
a long
do have to
time.
go. Yeah.
Hi there.
While it's not
It's
a
that time of
competition,
year again.
there is a leaderboard. My
Click
top
to the-
songs. Okay, number one, It's Been a Great Afternoon by Merle Haggard.
Hold on, I just gotta say something.
What?
I played 359 songs.
That's
this year.
incredible. That's so good. All right. Number two, Desert Skies by the Marshall Tucker Band. Number three, Fat Man in the Bathtub by Little Feat. I got to see Little Feat here in Charlottesville. That was awesome. Number four, Come Monday, Jimmy Buffett. I think he died this past year. So I think there was a solid month span of just Jimmy Buffett. And then Mental Revenge by Jamie Johnson. Jamie Johnson sliding in the top five. Now, I spent 3,402 minutes listening to podcasts this year. Let's just skip that because I don't really listen to podcasts. I usually just listen to this show to make sure it's not fucked up. Reed's like, I know. Okay. Now, I don't care about what they're telling me here. I listened to 1,657 artists.
If you skip to the very end, it's like a summary of everything.
Thank
Oh,
you. That's
terrific.
very helpful. Okay, good. Top artist, number one, Billy Strings. Number two, Marshall Tucker Band. Number three, Grateful Dead. Number four, Maxo Cream.
Maxo Cream.
And number five, Willie Nelson. I said, look, Maxo, you're in good company. All right? I hit you with top songs.
No.
So,
Oh, go ahead.
yeah. No.
Oh, number one, Boss Man D-Lo. Number two,
Boss Man D-Lo.
Drake. Number three, Future. Number four, 21 Savage. Number five, Maxo Cream.
You listen to a lot of Boss Man D-Lo, huh?
I do.
He just missed my top five.
Yeah, Boss Man D-Lo got some really good songs.
He's got some hits.
Mr. Pot Scraper.
Is that what they call him?
That's one of his big time songs.
You know what's
Like it.
funny?
And Get In With Me.
What's your top five songs for people?
Get In With Me, Like That, Talk My Shit, Mr. Pot Scraper, and Sports Center. And I think three of those are Boss Man.
Now I know what some of y'all are thinking. Who cares? And I saw a really funny thing this week that was you know what the funniest thing about people that somebody will tell you, who cares about your Spotify rap? And then they'll post the mile they ran on Instagram. They really do.
That is true.
You know what I mean? I don't think I've ever interacted with a post that showed me how far somebody ran. Don't care. Oh, you ran a marathon?
Great route, dude.
Yeah, sweet. Sweet. All right. I know you might feel that way about Spotify rap, but that's where we are.
Did you find yours, Macon?
Yeah. What do you want to know? It's not earth shattering here. Top artists: Kenny Chesney, Beyonce, Hanson, and the Temptations.
Hanson.
Yeah,
Boom Bop.
I'm back into Hanson. Yeah.
Yo, that's not a
Boom,
bit
bop,
either.
dip-a-dop,
Oh,
bop,
no.
boom, bop.
Yeah, you got it.
Skidoo-ah.
There's a lot of meaning to that
Beyonce.
song. Yeah.
Beyonce.
Yeah, I went through a whole Kamala Harris phase this year where I listened to the song Freedom for a while.
Yo.
So,
Are you excited for Christmas
Bag
Day then?
fumbler, dude.
what's Christmas Day?
Christmas Day. She's performing at halftime.
Oh, yeah, totally fired
Kamala?
up for that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. That's what I thought.
Beyonce.
Yeah, Beyonce.
Crazy. People think that Beyonce and Christmas Day is going to do more numbers than Kendrick on the Super Bowl.
They're wrong.
The halftime.
That's interesting.
Because supposedly she's doing stuff that she hasn't done on tour, new
Yeah.
stuff. So it's supposedly it's going to bring a bunch of her fans.
Who
to
plays
watch.
on Christmas Day, the game that she's doing?
I think it's Chiefs. I don't know who they play though.
Chiefs, Steelers, and Ravens, Texans.
Oh, they're gonna make such a big deal about Taylor Swift and Beyonce. It's gonna be like, who gets more airtime? Why is Taylor trying to upstage
4 black QBs?
Yeah,
Christmas Day and
Amen.
Beyonce. Huh.
it's awesome. That was on my list. You know, my kids have a list.
Do they?
Yeah.
What's the biggest thing on?
Well, they don't listen to this podcast, but one of them asked for an Xbox, and I said no.
You said no.
I said no to the mom, to my wife.
Okay.
You know, because
Xbox
it's a little
instead of-
early for a damn Xbox.
Instead of PlayStation, you guys have PlayStation, but like that's
I got a
yours, though.
PlayStation.
Yeah, that's yours.
And he's always like,
It's
"Can we-"
early. You can talk to random people on the internet on those.
Exactly, dude. We're not doing that. And guess what? My kid's gonna be the kid that's like, everybody else has a phone. I have a car and I don't have a phone. I'm gonna be like, well, talk to me through your
Talk
Apple
Radio.
Watch. What?
Look that up.
What talk radio?
It's called Talk Radio.
Is that a song by?
It's like
Boss
remember
Man
the
D-Lo?
Nextels?
Oh,
It's
okay.
like that you could give for your
Chirp.
kid.
I get my kids chirp.
But
I
like
wanna
they
get
can
back
only
into
they
chirp.
can only chirp you, your wife, and whoever you program in there.
My goal is to have a landline by some point in 2025. What do you think happens if I get a landline? Do people get like mad at me? You know what I mean? Like people that need things sometimes.
No, you're probably it'll probably burden you more.
You think?
Yes.
Because
How?
It'll ring 6 times a day with
No,
people
well,
spamming.
no,
it's either that or you unplug it, or if you have it on silent, like it has some type of light, you'll be like, no way, this is still.
It's not gonna be in
on.
my room. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think the landline thing could work, honestly. So
I think that could work for kids. Like, hey, you can have a phone in your room, but it's a landline.
I just voted for myself. Macon, 22% of people thought you had the best Spotify rap.
Oh, thank you.
Which is concerning when it comes to our demo. There's a lot of Hanson listeners.
There was also Beyonce and the Temptations.
You're right.
I'm eclectic.
You are eclectic.
Eclectic.
I love when they tell you what you are. Hey, one thing I wanted to bring up on the NFL front, and you're welcome to bring up the topics you had in the group chat yesterday as a fun way to end the show. But the NFL has where is it here? The NFL recently updated its drug policy, including a $15,000 fine for players who record and post the drug test collection process on social media. Oh no, we don't get to see that very clever original joke anymore. That is the dumbest fucking joke ever when guys do that. It's so stupid.
What is that?
It's so misleading too. I had a good game, so look, surprise, surprise, they're drug testing me. Like 17 guys get drug tested after every game.
Yeah.
Like you're
you're gonna get fined now for posting. Like
yes, because what it makes the NFL look like is that they're like targeting guys. We have the type of fans. Some fans. I don't mean this podcast because everybody.
They do target guys though. No.
Only if you're
You're getting baited.
you're getting baited.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because do you remember when you were in the league? Were they doing this? Where after games, 10, 15 guys.
Yeah. I mean, it's like that in college too. It's
I know, but for the fans, what they think is that you're the only person that got drug tested.
Oh no, definitely not. No.
Like, and that's one of my. It's such a pet peeve of mine when I see that. I'm just like, bro. Like, do you realize the people are eating this up? They don't know. So I'm actually, I know this is, I'm supposed to be like, boo NFL, but cool. Find them into the sun for that stupid joke. So stupid. It's so stupid. Now, I'm not above making your drug test collection guy in the offseason meet you places that are inconvenient to that person.
Ugh.
I used to make guys meet me at McDonald's. Seriously.
Bro.
Seriously, somebody walk in the bathroom. There's two guys in.
Tell me about it. I was in the program for 2 years. 2 years, bro.
I make the other guy walk out first. Go ahead.
I was in the program for 2 years.
Yeah.
Where I had to do that. I had to meet with that guy 5 times a month.
So how did you fail? If I might ask.
So I got in trouble in the off season.
Mm-hmm.
And if you get in trouble back then in the NFL and it has anything to do, I got pulled over before weed was legal in Virginia, had weed, and when you get in trouble in the off season,
I didn't want. Yeah.
They make you do a drug test.
I thought you just failed a test.
Like I failed that test in the off season because I got in trouble. So they still put me in a program for 2
Maybe
years.
tell people how to beat a drug test.
You can't. There's
The
a
only
guy
way to
in
do
there-
is stop smoking for a while.
Oh yeah.
How
for
long
sure.
would it usually take you?
I would stop me personally, I would stop 7 weeks was like the
I used to
close
go 3 weeks.
Yeah, see, like for me, I'm just like, I'm not gonna do that to myself. I'm not gonna.
Yeah.
It wasn't worth it. It wasn't worth it to get there and have like a little bit of.
At the end of my
levels.
career, it was worth it for me because of like my sanity, and then also like, what's the worst you're gonna do to me? You're gonna tell me I can't smoke weed? I'm just about to retire.
Yeah.
In a year.
No, see, like I wasn't in that position to think that way, so it was just like, yo, like I'm stopping now, and then I'm still testing myself at home by myself.
You were testing yourself at home
to make sure I was clean. Absolutely.
See, I would just get in the sauna
because I just don't.
like
you don't want to be nervous. Like I don't want to be nervous about it or feel like, oh, I still have low levels, or if their test is better than this home test, like maybe it'll see this or whatever.
But it is a body fat thing, and it's just like your weight is going to matter. So like D tackles are going to have a hard time shedding
and your
consumption.
And your consumption level. Like it's all different. And if you're like hitting vapes or eating edibles, all that makes a difference of how long
I'm talking about.
Yeah, sort of.
There were people in the chat before the show being like, "Does Macon smoke weed?"
I do not.
He doesn't.
No.
Hey, any mailbag questions? Get them out now. We got a minute or two left that we can answer any of your burning questions before we hit the road for the day.
Was there anything from Hard Knocks that you?
That's funny in there. They're talking about the Wizinator. Here's a funny story about
the fake dick.
The Wizinator. So
this is just story time. So go ahead.
In college, there used to be a Wizinator that would go around for guys to pass potential drug tests, and it was funny because when it got found out, the Wizinator was a white to tan brand, and a darker colored player tried to use it.
So they didn't offer darker colored.
I think they did, but like I think the one that someone had was like, hey, you can pass a test this way. Like if you get clean piss, use this. Like it was just whatever was there.
Yeah,
it's a great tagline, by the way. If you need clean piss, use this.
Use this. And the contraction fell out, and it got found out, and it ruined it for everybody.
On the team you were on?
This is at UVA, yeah.
At UVA?
Yeah, like you weren't a smoker, so you didn't have to worry about it. But yeah, the Wizinator.
Way.
Yes.
I was so afraid in college I'd smoke like bowl week and then stop. Because it was like that was your one little window.
Yeah.
And I used to get so stoned.
The good old days.
At the Boise Bowl. The first time I ever got stoned my freshman year.
Boise,
I had a dad with a crew cut. Some people in the chat are like, why wouldn't you smoke in high school? I got a dad
that is funny.
If you don't have a dad with a crew cut, don't talk to me. Okay? So, and I went out to Boise. The first time I ever smoked was getting ready for that bowl game. And we watched Bring It On in the hotel room.
Such a good movie.
And I was enthralled. I was crying, laughing.
Spirit figures.
Oh, I don't know why we watched Bring It On. I was asleep by the time it got to that important meet.
Gabrielle Union.
Yeah,
nice.
Yeah.
It's a long time ago.
Put it up here.
Okay.
Got some great product.
You remember that song "Best Rapper Alive" by Lil Wayne?
Yes.
Me and my roommate in at the Music City Bowl played it probably on repeat 14 times in the hotel room, and we were just walking around our room going,
Best rapper alive. Best rapper alive.
My eyes are getting bloodshot just thinking about it.
Bro, we did that in Jacksonville at the Gator Bowl. I remember, I'm not even going to lie, me and a group of guys, we had got kind of scammed. We bought some weed off someone we didn't know, and it ended up being like a lot of like sticks and stems, but like there was still weed in there. We had to pick through stuff, and I remember we had put like all like the sticks and kind of stems to the side, and we were like, we're not smoking the rest of that. Like, fuck that weed. And bro, after we lost that game, we rushed to the room to find that bag of sticks and stems.
Did it do anything to you?
Bro, worst headache high ever. But
did you buy that pot on at the landing?
Bro, at the landing, bro, from someone random.
There's probably so much pot available at that landing.
Man, bro.
Rest in peace.
The That's so funny. The Gator Bowl and the way we lost that shit. Crabtree, side of his ankle. Like, it was just like, oh, man. Like, we're smoking this.
That's when you need some sticks and stones.
Yeah, for sure.
You just had the Wizinator. What are you going to say?
I was also at the Gator Bowl. My friends and I invented a drink at the Hooters at the Landing called a Wet Dream, which was a shot of tequila chased by some milk. That's pretty good because you take the tequila and you forget about it real quick when that 2%.
Milk, really?
Yeah.
Where were you getting the milk?
Hooters.
They had.
No, not like that.
Funnier than
no,
you
no,
realize.
not like that. Not like that. They had milk.
That
so
should be a new promotion. A shot and hey, come here. That's nice.
I don't think you can talk about like that anymore. So anyway,
Go to the options.
look at
Go
the
to
Wizinator. Hey, what's that hot dog? What is that hot dog between your legs, bro? That doesn't look like a dick at all. Is that the 2024 model?
Go up a little bit.
Is that Unirace? Are they trying to Unirace the Wizinator?
Choose an option on the bottom, and then go to color.
Let's see the options.
They got robot color?
Brown, Latino, tan, white.
Latino.
Where is Asian?
This is hilarious. This is hilarious.
But they're going to Latino. I just think that's an oversight. That's crazy, dude. That's crazy.
Wizinator probably still does numbers.
That looks like that hot dog we.
If you got to buy a fake dick, maybe just stop smoking. All right, let's see. What did the chat come up with?
We're talking about aliens in New Jersey and how we need boots. They need our boots on the ground.
You think I'm gonna?
investigate
You
aliens
think?
in New Jersey?
Oh, investigate.
Yeah,
I thought
yeah,
you were
yeah.
saying like they're coming.
Oh no.
If the aliens show up, I'm not putting up a fight.
Which I think
Taking my chest out.
we should tell the people what.
I'm on your side.
Yeah,
We should tell the people about our group chat combo the other day. Who we would send to the aliens.
Who did you say you send Jameis
I said Jameis or Wimby.
to be a representative?
Yeah.
Or Wimby. Wimby, I think he might represent and look mostly like what would come down from what we've seen. And so they might see him and be like, cousin.
See, I said David Robinson.
Yeah, he's another one.
Not because of an alien likeness. I think that David Robinson should be president.
Okay.
Like, I just think.
But I think the likeness of him too is, I think if you see someone who kind of looks like you.
Do you remember David Robinson was across the street randomly one day this summer?
Yeah.
I like ran down in the street and was like, David.
Yeah, I came in here.
We dapped up and I was
Matt
like, I don't need anything. Just I work up here.
Yeah, Matt was like, David Robinson is out. Chris is outside talking to David Robinson. I was like, the Admiral? He's like, yeah. And I was like, what?
That's so cool. Also saw Charles Barkley at the airport a couple weeks ago.
Barkley, that's dope.
It was awesome. That's a good question, though. Yeah, no, we won't be up there in New Jersey helping y'all. You got any other brain busters?
One of the things we talked about was
About
there's
2 minutes
like,
here.
Big Dom, maybe a Hollywood movie being made after him. I had an idea. I wonder if you guys think it's any good.
You tell me.
All right, so Big Dom movie deal. So as the nation celebrates its 250th anniversary, Big Dom is put in charge of security for the semi-quincentennial celebration in Philly. As terror looms, Big Dom must race against time to save the city. With the help of the Mafia and Saquon Barkley, watch Big Dom fight for the city he loves and uncover a vast conspiracy in the heart of our government. It's like 24 meets The Sopranos. Touch Austin.
That's
Powers.
pretty good. I thought you were just going to say Big Dom is head of security for the Eagles. And that's like the plot.
No, I think, yeah, I literally said that upstairs. I was like, I see Big Dom in like a kid's like mall cop movie. Like, I think they can make a mall cop.
Would you just
spin-off
make him
with
Paul Blart? Have Paul Blart like wear a Kangol?
It would be funny, him and Dom.
I hope to see Big Dom this week.
I want to see National Treasure 3 and Big Dom and Nicolas Cage team up to steal the Declaration of Independence.
Nice.
To save the world. Not
You know,
just
kind of had a
Cage.
National Treasure get up on Monday Night Football is my dog Jason Kelsey the other day.
Oh yeah.
He did. I was like, you getting some fossils? You after them fossils, my boy?
Fossils.
I know where to find them. Hey, One or two. You guys good? You guys just struck out? Did we strike out?
Who's got a better chance in the playoffs, Minnesota or Green Bay?
Oh,
Is a question.
Green Bay. The Green Bay Packers.
I keep wanting to say Green Bay, but then when they play good teams, they're not winning.
Vikings, because they'll probably get to play the Falcons or Bucks in the first round.
I think the Vikings, like, they're just they're a pretty complete team. They really are.
And then come the playoffs.
I understand, but the Packers have not played well in big spots, particularly in division this year, and maybe that's what's skewing it for me. But I really do like these Vikings, man. I don't know who's got a better shot. I can't answer that succinctly. I'm sorry.
Matt Roth first wanted to apologize for questioning your bracket.
I mean, there's meat in there, Matt.
And then he wanted to know if there's any chance the Browns sign Jameis for next season.
I think Jameis is a tremendous locker room guy, and it would be great to have him back. But you know who's trying to rain on Jameis's parade is Kyle Long. He's like taking the other side of the Jameis thing. Like, I've seen him tweeting about it. He's like, enough is enough. I'm like, no, enough is never enough.
Not enough.
So I love Jameis Winston to be back with the Browns. I would love that.
And
Here's one. Let's say it's January 2025. The Atlanta Falcons have won the South at 7-10, and Roger Goodell comes down and says, we're going to replace them with another team that's certainly not making the playoffs. It can't be like a fringe team. For entertainment and functional purposes, who do you want that team to be? It's got to be a team probably in the bottom 10, because you can't say the Bucks, right? You know?
right. Titans. I want Will Levis in the playoffs.
Oh, my God.
Damn fun.
Will Levis in the playoffs would be
Isn't the
incredible.
answer Jameis?
Yeah, I was just going to
The
say.
answer is the
Jameis.
Broncos. That's what made me think.
Wait,
Or
Browns.
the Browns.
The
That's
Browns.
what made me think. I'm sorry. Broncos are going.
We're going to the playoffs.
But I think the Browns, man, with their defense and
seeing
Nick
the way,
Chubb now getting healthy, like they
Jerry
kind
Jeudy?
of.
but seeing Jerry Jeudy really like make a name for himself. He has made a name for himself, but we haven't seen that in a while. Like the last thing I remember about Jeudy is him fighting with Steve Smith on the sideline, bro.
Yeah.
like arguing, bullshit arguing.
Well, but good for him, because it sucks. Like, I hate seeing guys get wrote off.
Yeah,
you
no,
know,
for
just
sure.
because they're high picks like that. That like Jeudy kind of that was a little. Steve put a little extra mustard on it, and like.
But wide
Let's understand
receivers, you
the
talk
wide
about the
receivers.
position
Yeah,
like a little
yeah.
bit more, like, and what he was saying wasn't wrong.
No.
but it does hurt to hear that.
Yeah, well, guys don't, great players, especially like a guy like Steve Smith, probably doesn't like high picks.
Yeah,
Because it's just like, you didn't earn it.
True.
Jeudy didn't earn it.
and Jeudy too. Like, you might be a fan, and like that shit might hurt a little bit. Like, dang, you like one of the greatest receivers.
Yeah,
like,
that probably hurt a lot.
Like that hurts if you feel that way about a guy, and then you hear like, dang, bro, like.
Bro, I remember
that's
after my
true.
first year, I was watching TV, and I had a bunch of vets on my team, and like Leroy Glover had just retired, and he's like my boy and everything, and he treated me real good.
what
But
is
he was
that?
on TV, and he was like, and Chris Long's got to get going, he's got to pick it up, and I was like watching TV, and I was like,
Oh man.
but it wasn't like the Steve
Yeah.
Smith thing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It was just.
But either way, like that's it. Like when you heard it, you're just like, oh, like
I was like, you know what? I'm gonna step it up.
what's stepping up?
Take another half a year, but yeah, no, I think the Browns would be my answer. All right, guys.
Low dog
Oh.
in the chat. Last thing, first they gave us $5. Thank you.
Thank you.
And then they said, give the Cardinals some love today, boys. Merry Christmas to you and your families.
Hey, Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to everybody that doesn't celebrate Christmas, like Jerry Jeudy.
That's right. Happy Hanukkah.
I could not believe that thing. That
Yeah.
that was like out of a movie.
It's
I was
really-
like, are you a movie character, bro? Like, I don't know if you could say this,
yeah.
but
But he did.
he did.
Thank you to BetMGM as we wrap up.
All right. As we get ready for Week 14 in the NFL this weekend, I want you to picture this. You bet your favorite player his first touchdown score, but he throws a block to send a teammate into the end zone, and you lost your bet, right?
Wrong!
With BetMGM's second chance promotion, you'll get your stake back. if your first touchdown scorer also scores second. Bet on any pro football player to score the first touchdown of the game. If you're right, you win. If your player scores second, you get your stake back in cash. Keep that in mind next time you throw in a first touchdown score bet with BetMGM. Happy hunting.
Hooty hoo!
And I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful weekend. And enjoy that slate Sunday.
And we're going early Monday, right? 11 o'clock?
That's
11
true. We're going
o'clock.
early Monday. The reason we're going early is I got to go up and do that team dinner with Connor Barwin up in Philly. So thank you for your patience and thank you for hitting the curveball. But, of course, if you don't catch it 11, you can just pop it up at your normal time. We will be back with you 11 a.m. Monday.
And we've got Steve tomorrow. Saturday
We got
morning.
Steve tomorrow. Sorry about the picks not going out last week. We're all above 500. We all
That's
had
right.
pretty good weeks.
That's right.
Take care.